Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of CNB, the Car and Bike Show, here on the NDTV network. Thank you for joining us, and we have lots lined up for you today. Now let's talk about why we have the sx4. A very popular car, and it's been so the last few months because it's big on space, big on power, and it's great value for money. Other manufacturers have seen the way the segment has expanded since the sx4 drove into it, and they want to cash in on similar kind of a success. And we showed you the new updated Ford Fiesta just last week. So is it good enough to take on a car as popular as the sx4? That's what we hope to find out.
The mid-size segment has been one of the worst hit in the recent slowdowns that the industry is witnessing. Once considered the most promising growth segment, today things aren't going so well. But it remains very aspirational. That is, a segment thousands of new car buyers would like to see themselves in.
So you might be asking the question, why are we just pitting these two cars together? I mean, there are people out there who've been writing in and asking even about comparing the Fiesta to the Swift Desire. And then there's a whole lot of other people who are going to say that what about the Honda City, what about the Hyundai Verna, and what about the good old Chevy Aveo? Well, the point is that this car, the sx4, has been the real aspirational one in this segment. The past few months, it's the one that's really driven sales. It's the one that's got the segment moving in spite of a tough year. And here's the latest entrant in terms of the latest, newest variant. So we thought it's a fair comparison. Also, in terms of engine spec, the two of them do match up, and both of them will have to pay that extra 15,000 rupees when it comes to the excise duty hike. The Honda City doesn't have to. So those are the factors that made us decide that we wanted to pit these two cars together. So now that we know the compelling reason as to why we've pitted these two together, let's talk about pure styling to begin with. Now, the sx4 on paper is perhaps the more flamboyant and, if I may use the word, the more sexy design of the two, because it's different. It's not like what we've seen in the market. It's also not like what we've seen in this segment. The Fiesta has always been the slightly more staid looking in terms of, its profile of being just a typical sedan. But there are some fresh elements that get us a little excited. The new headlamp cluster with a little extra sort of, wave down here and all clear, little bit of the dark edging. It does look smart and nice. And let's not forget this one that we have with us is the 1.6S, that's the Sport. So it has a few sporty elements thrown in. On the sx4, in this segment, because people, they want to sort of upgrade to this segment. They want to make a statement. You've got extra chrome up front, the nice big headlights, and a very imposing face. So in that sense, I think the sx4 styling is definitely the more attention-grabbing of the two, though the Fiesta is a little bit better finished. We'll keep getting into that in more detail. But come around to the side and you'll see that the alloys on the Fiesta are also pretty attractive. Nice tires, they look very smart, the wheels as well. And on the sx4, very quickly to compare, you do have a 5-spoke alloy again, but it's nothing much to write home about in terms of the look. But look at the size of the tire itself. The wheel is huge, so you get much bigger tires. Ground clearance would be a little bit more attractive on the sx4. In terms of styling to carry on, you've got this huge spoiler at the back on the Fiesta. I told you last week that, or I told you when we first showed you the car that I'm not really too crazy about that, but some of you might like it. The sx4 doesn't have it, but the sx4 has a thick chrome slat at the back. And again, at the back too, the car just looks huge. It looks muscular and big. The tail lamp cluster, again, big, chunky. So it has a little bit more presence. The Fiesta, on the other hand, is a little more plain, but it's got the contemporary, clear lens tail lamp. It's got a little bit better overall finish to, I think, round things off. So when it comes to the package, the Fiesta on the outside seems to just about edge ahead, even though the sx4 lives up to the SX part in terms of being a little more sexy.
Now, looks are purely subjective. Some of you might like the sx4's bulky, chunky look more than the safe and staid lines of the Fiesta, or vice versa. But on the inside, things may be different.
Now, on the SX4 was first launched, the interiors created a bit of a flutter because you got the light beige treatment, you got the split tone in terms of two colors, and you got the integrated dash, which was, like I said, enough to create some excitement. Even the metallic element on the side, which complements the front face, and here it is, the inbuilt flush against the dash music system. Same goes for the climate control. All of that impressed people because you got all this as standard equipment in the high-end versions of this car. You also got steering mounted controls, which was again seen as a big plus in terms of this segment. And overall, Maruti's claim was that here we're giving you a car that sort of matches up even the Corolla Civic segment in terms of spec, but is a lot cheaper to buy. And it did impress enough people who said that, you know what, we really like all this and we're going to actually opt for the higher end version, even if it costs a little bit more, because the cost differential wasn't seen as being that much. It's a spacious car, it's got good height in terms of road presence, but the quality of the plastics in typical Maruti style unfortunately disappoints. And you know, when you've owned the car for a few months, you start to see it or you start to feel it a little bit more. But otherwise it's comfortable. There's a lot of room in the back as well, and let's see how all of that compares with the car over there. Now the insides of the Fiesta, and it's a lot sportier. Now personal bias should not creep into this, so I will tell you that you have to decide what you think works for you better. In my case, I'll have to say that sporty works better than you know, perceived classy. And you can see that these seats have been done very smartly. It's got you know, nice sporty sort of a look. It is the kind that hugs you better when you drive. We talked about that earlier as well. And it's a nice shape. It's a good sort of use of upholstery. It's all black and, you know, dull aluminum inside as far as the treatment is concerned. Good and decently well finished, and even the plastic quality seems quite good. So the point is that if you want all of that you saw in the SX4 in terms of the leather and the, you know, the lighter tones, you can get that because you have the high-end SXI version on this as well, and you can get that for yourself. So no problem there. Let's compare the equipment now. This is a different sort of a dash, but it gives you a little bit more knee room over here. As far as the music system and controls for the AC are concerned, this is not a climate control system. It's a basic air conditioner, so that's a bit of a downer compared to the SX4. But it's got the inbuilt CD system just like that car, and this has been changed. It's been upgraded in the Fiesta. Now it looks nicer. It looks better, it fits better, it also sounds better. So that's nice. The steering wheel, familiar Ford territory, the 3-spoke, looks sporty and nice, but there are no steering controls here. So that's again a bit of a minus point. The instruments, now I'm not sure what Ford was going for here because there's stripes and there's a honeycomb pattern, and you know, there's also a few metallic elements. There's just too much going on here, though the screen in the middle does work pretty functionally. It gives you trip information and of course how much, you know, your distance to empty in terms of how much fuel you have left on board. So it's a sporty package. It's been finished well, and overall, even though the SX4 gives you a sense of space all around and, you know, is just a little bit bigger in its feel, this one is finished better and again sneaks forward, but only just.
Now onto the drive. The SX4 is amply powered with great power and good big tires that make the ride a good one. But good is not always good enough. The S version of the petrol 1.6 is a much more electric and fun drive. The Fiesta's acceleration is good and the car has much more in control and a well-gripped feeling. So while on paper the SX4's tech specs look terrific and have impressed many buyers over the past year, the Fiesta's promised pep is definitely the more impressive. Its gearbox is also notchy and feels great. The Fiesta also has the 1.4 diesel as an option, and though you can't get it with the spoiler and the sporty skirting, the SXI trim does give you all the safety and luxury features of the high-end SX4, including the leather seats. If you compare prices, you will find the two more or less evenly matched, though the Maruti seems better value still and will be easier on the after-sales. Both cars offer ABS, alloy wheels and even the dual airbags, though a sunroof would have been a nice touch. So albeit the slightly bland yet clean looks, the better ride, better finish and string appeal make the Fiesta the winner today.
that's a wrap on this week's episode of CNB. Please do tell us how you liked the program. Also, what you thought of the two-car comparison and that BMW 3 Series right on top. All of that can come into CNB at ndtv.com. We're going to drive off then and be back next week with a lot more. Stay with NDTV. Plenty coming up. Keep your seatbelts on. Bye-bye.